Hi, I'm Nate, your masculinity and mindset coach. Today I'm going to be talking about the topic of community well-being. This is something that's been very prevalent in my life circumstances recently, both as the founder of a community and as a community, I don't know what I'd call myself, leader, elder. I don't really want to call myself an elder, but I'm often called upon in this area to moderate discussions between people, to resolve conflicts, to stand as a man who creates order and safety. And that is something that has been built up over time. The more that you begin to create yourself as a man of honor, a man with standards, a man of integrity, a man who creates emotional, physical, mental safety around him, the more that you'll be called on as a leader in your environment. Now, what I'm coming to understand is that there is behaviors and practices that are necessary that most of us have forgotten to maintain order, to maintain harmony in communal settings. One of those is the concept of a talking stick and coming together and giving each person the opportunity to speak, unencumbered, without being diminished or cancelled. See, often we attempt to try and communicate with each other through technology, which doesn't allow this order to take place. Typically, it results in the devolution and destruction of relationships because people are more about venting their emotional pain on each other than seeking true resolution, because there's been this idea that we can just find other people. But when you actually start to come into community, when you actually start to consider the well-being of others around you in longevity, that you're going to begin to be living with them, then you realize that it's necessary to have modalities of healing and restoration that are consistently applied to maintain a base level of well-being. It's a type of maintenance. Just like we need to do continual physical maintenance, we need to do emotional maintenance and relationship maintenance. And this is where things like talking circles are so important, that bring the community together, but also the healing work around this, whether we do temescals, whether we sit around the fire and sing songs, whether we cook food and share food together. This is so much of what is missing, in my belief, that is causing the erosion of community. And the result is that we're quick to judge, dismiss, we're quick to discipline without full information, or become the perpetrators of harm on others without really having any compassion or awareness for our neighbor. Now, our neighbors become our family when we start to invite them in our homes, when we start to build these connections with each other. And something that's quite startling for me is that many times when I lived in big cities, I never knew my neighbors, I never met them. What I've noticed in living in a small town like Tulum in Mexico, where a lot of people come together, many of us have immigrated here through the times of COVID, that we began now spending 4 years with each other to develop relationships. And then now, having spent 4 years with each other, we're realizing we're needing to coordinate each other when there's different life's events and circumstances that are taking place that might be causing harm or a diminishment of safety. And so this has been a really valuable exercise, because now I'm starting to see community evolve and develop in even more beautiful ways. Because when you are living in a small community, you can't just cancel each other. You end up being at social events where you can't talk to each other. There's all these avoidance patterns start to come to the surface, and there needs to be a restoration, a healing, a clearing that takes place if the community wants to thrive and prosper together in harmony. And part of my influence has been through the awareness of natural law and some wisdom that was shared with me that came from the Kogi tribe of Colombia, in the Sierra Nevada of Colombia. And they talk about the necessity to do clearing amongst each other consistently, or else we tend to accumulate, pains and events that it was an ouch, it's something that we didn't appreciate or didn't like or caused us pain in some way or was inconsiderate. And instead of just addressing that, we let them accumulate. And so what I've come to understand is there's a necessity to have weekly clearings where we sit and we let each other speak and we say, hey, this is an ouch, and we create a safe environment for that to take place where we speak authentically to each other. And in doing so, these emotional weights don't build up and they don't begin to obstruct our loving perception of others. Failure to do so, the opposite takes place. These obstructions mount up and we begin to carry this pain into our interactions, and we begin to project them and put them on other people. And that's when community or relationships fall apart, and we cause harm to one another. So what I'm wanting to bring to the awareness and attention is a necessity, because so much of our life is relationships. There's a necessity to develop abilities of how to relate. This includes non-violent communication. This includes nurturance exercises for relationships, to maintain polarity, maintain honor and respect. This includes being able to speak openly and authentically, to make time to connect, to communicate, to sing with each other, to eat with each other, and to clear whatever is in the field as soon as possible after it happens, instead of letting things fester. And instead of passing our pain on to others, whether it's by gossip, whether it's by emotional or physical outbursts, all those things point to distortions and patterns that create more harm and suffering rather than creating well-being. And I think to ignore these and calling yourself spiritual or on the path and then creating harm runs counter to the truth behind why you would develop your self-awareness in a spiritual sense. And when you start to treat others as reflections of you in some capacity, then you can develop compassion, empathy, and create well-being. And like I've said in previous videos, if there is true lack of safety, if someone is being physically, emotionally violent, or has negative and ill intent for your well-being, then you set a boundary. And that's not about clearing in a emotional clearing, maintenance kind of way. That's about clearing to have that person no longer in your life. I do believe that there are times and circumstances where you need to set a boundary for how people show up in your life. But if there is good positive intent, there's also a balance on the other side where we need to give people the opportunity to heal, to resolve, to come together, and not to cancel each other. We need to move to a higher ground, a higher standard for each other, and support each other to that highest standard of well-being. I hope this video has been useful. If you'd like my support in any capacity to enhance the quality of your relationships, please join the Sovereign Brotherhood community. The details are in the captions below this video. Thanks again for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.